We had an idea that we really wanted to do something to support visual artists making new ideas in historic spaces. And we developed this idea to shortlist 8 emerging artists each year and mentor and support them to produce new ideas.
My name's Bethany Stead, and my proposal is called The Housekeepers. I explore class and socio-political issues in my work and uncovering hidden stories of working class people. I started thinking about the servants of Seaton Delaval Hall. There's not actually much about specific people who worked here around the 1700s when it was at its most active. I'd love to make a life-size puppet theatre with more figurines and decorated and painted in like surreal, dreamlike ways.
Hey, I'm Jordan Edge, a trans and non-binary multidisciplinary artist based in Newcastle. Our project for the Seaton Delaval Hall Emerging Artist Award is called The Lyre of Elysium. It's a large-scale wind harp instrument based around the painting of Elizabeth Delaval, posing with a medieval lyre harp. The harp is a speculation into the writing, imagination and meditations of Elizabeth Delaval.
My name's Debbie Todd. My proposal is called A Day in the Life of Francis Blake Delaval. So I found the history of the Hall really fascinating, all of the different characters, especially Francis Blake Delaval. There's such a rich history, of things that you wouldn't really expect. And I thought that was really interesting. But also I did notice the lack of diversity in there. And I just thought I would love to recapture these stories from the past, but put some modern day twists in. So use some people, some marginalised communities and use people that you wouldn't have seen then. I just want to make some really accessible work to tell these interesting stories.